Hey, Moses here. You have heard of the term, she is such a pushover, or he is such a pushover, or maybe you're one of the people that has done the pushing over. If you are in the first camp of the people that get pushed over around left and right, I'm here to tell you to be a monster, a civilized monster. Let me explain. The people that get labeled the pushovers are typically not people that are weak per se. They're people that, when they set their boundaries and their boundaries are crossed, there are no consequences, or the consequences that they promised will be if the boundaries are crossed. Those consequences really never come to fruition. So you become a pushover because when you say something, there's nothing to back it up. That's what I mean when I say you need to be a monster. And the civilized part of this equation is when you communicate clearly to someone, let's say your boss, hey, boss, I don't like to be contacted on a Saturday or a Sunday. If you do contact me on a Saturday or Sunday, I will not reply. And when your boss, inevitably, maybe, texts you on a Saturday or a Sunday, you actually don't reply because you have set that boundary and that boundary was crossed. And the consequences were you will not reply. Let's take the reverse of that. You say, hey, boss, if you contact me on a Saturday or a Sunday, I will not reply. And inevitably, your boss texts you on a Saturday or a Sunday, and you do reply. That gives the message that, hey, my word, I do not uphold my word. When you cross my boundaries, the consequences that I set forth don't really come to fruition. So you become a pushover. And this also applies in friend groups, right? If you're the type that whenever you are feeling like super tired and you don't want to go out with your friends, not because you're mean, you burnt out or whatever reason, or you just don't want to go out and you tell your friends, hey, I'm not gonna join. Yeah, I'm gonna have to sit this one out. And they push and they push and they push. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna go. And you go and you have a terrible time. And I've I've been in that position where I said I don't want to go. And then I ended up going and I had a great time. So I'm not ditching on that. But if you if you are in the position where you say something and there are no consequences for people to cross your boundaries, then you become a pushover. So my 2 cents are these: be a monster, and by being a monster I mean be willing and able to carry out the consequences that you set forth. I don't know why it sounded like that. If you say that there will be consequences for someone crossing your boundaries, you actually have to be willing and able to carry out those consequences. That's where the monster part enters the equation. Is you people know that when you mean something, you actually will carry through, especially if it is something that you don't necessarily want to do because you're not an evil individual. You're not someone that's terrible, right? It's just that you understand that if you set a rule, if you set a boundary and that boundary is crossed, there will be consequences, even though you hate dealing those consequences. And I think I'm not a parent, so I'm definitely speaking out of my ass here. But if you tell your kids that you know, don't do X, Y, and Z, and they do it, and there are no consequences for doing it, okay, I'm done preaching for the day. I just wanted to let the message out to that person that is easily a pushover. I've banned that individual, right? Because I'm the soft, kind-hearted. I guess everybody has the kind-heartedness that is easily confused for weakness, right? He's so nice, he's chilled. She's so nice, she's right. And so we end up being the types that people are willing to push to see if we move. And so if you are in that camp, this is some sort of like assertiveness training of sorts, somewhat. I'm not really in a position to train you to be more assertive, but if you fall in this category of being very agreeable or more agreeable than the average individual, then the downside to that is you become a target for people to try to push your boundaries. And maybe you're also in the camp of people that do the pushing of boundaries. I don't have a video for that, but those are my 2 cents. If you are the pushover type and you know it, and the way to know it is how often do you set boundaries and how often are those boundaries crossed and how often are the consequences carried out? If there are no consequences, if you don't set any consequences, if you have no boundaries to begin with, then this video is for you. Just remember, set boundaries, set consequences for those boundaries, and actually carry out the consequences. Deal the consequences. Be the punisher. Okay, I'm done yapping. Thank you so much for listening to this audio, this video, watching. If you got any value from this video, give it a like. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.